Year after year, the growth of revered cultivators was observed. The world saw only the strong and did not notice that behind every revered cultivator there was always a special one. The dark raven. A bright sunny day, a raven stood on the steps in front of the entrance to Pai Guyan, wings folded behind his back. He silently stared at the sign with the name of this place. His gaze was frowning. Suddenly someone's voice rang out behind him. The raven immediately reacted to this sound, but did not even move. Only his gaze was already looking in the other direction. The man with long blonde hair and yellow robes who had just come and was now standing behind the raven seemed to be glad that he had already come. The first thing he said was that Raven probably did not foresee that the snotty boy he was would become the founder of his own clan. A stick suddenly flew at the man, which stopped right in front of his face, which was covered with perspiration. It was the raven, who turned sharply sideways to him through the object. He took the stick in his hand and, looking at it, was surprised that the raven still keeps it. The man still remembers the good old days when the raven taught them three. Him, the old devil, and the old chicken. With this snake stick, he beat them to the very peak of cultivation. A man really misses those times. Raven, after listening to all this, just rolls his eyes, making a sound of discontent. His interlocutor shouts indignantly that he heard everything. He turns to the dark raven, saying that he does not know how long he has lived and how long he will live. But he knows for sure that the raven will live longer than himself, so he asks to protect the ancient school of purification when he leaves. The creation of a clan has always been the dream of his whole life. He does not seek to dominate the lands. He only wishes with all his soul that his clan could protect citizens and save them from suffering. The raven had been standing sideways to him all the time the man was talking, and now he turned away, and quickly flew into the air without answering anything. The man raised his head up, shouting after the raven. He asked if he had listened to his words at all. Did this mean that the raven had agreed, that he had heard this request? The dark raven was already far away from the huge rock on which this man's clan was located. Present time. A loud scream is heard. A boy with red hair rushes up the stairs to the Genshin Hall at full speed to report an incident to the elders. He ran into the hall, calling for Teacher Zhang, and reported that a young man burst through the gate, who says he wants to become a student here. There were 5 people in the hall. In the center was Teacher Zhang himself, who received the news with a frown. He hasn't said anything yet. Another man decided that the brave man must be looking for death. Why wasn't he kicked out by the other students guarding the gate? Are they all dead? The boy excitedly replied that the man had an ancient purification token. Teacher Zhang was surprised. He squinted suspiciously and demanded that the boy bring the guest to them. But this was no longer necessary, because he had already come to the hall himself. He stood smiling and announcing that the head disciple had arrived with a message. The uninvited guest who had just appeared in the hall was still quite young. He, calling himself the main student, announced that he had come with a report. The man with blue eyes asked him with displeasure where he was from. He said it was very hard to be the head of an ancient school, and asked why this kid had come. The kid introduced himself. He said that his name is Lai Kai. He is the heir of Emperor Akihito, and declared that all those who adhere to the ancient order of purification are honored guests of the clan, and they can also make any requests. As proof, he held out his hand with the same token that was mentioned earlier. Teacher Zhang asked how he would prove that his token was real. The boy threw the token to the elder and replied that he had received it from a master, and if they did not believe him, they could see for themselves. This master lives in Kuihong at the foot of the mountain. The teacher caught the throne token. Everyone present had a lot of questions. Huihyun is a brothel. Has the master, from whom the boy received the token, gone mad since he lives there? However, the old man was already really interested. While he was examining the token, the red-haired boy told the guest that throwing this thing like this is very rude. How dare he do this? But the guest only said that it was none of his business. Meanwhile, the teacher was convinced of the authenticity of the token. It was real. The blue-eyed man who called Teacher Zhang brother said that the contract with the 9 Demon clan had almost expired. Only with the support of resources from this clan could they hope to be reborn. They don't fully know who this child is, but they still don't have a main student. If the child is really capable, then it is better to take advantage of the opportunity. Teacher Zhang listened silently with his eyes closed. He then stood up, stating that at a glance one could determine the guest's abilities. With a wave of his hand, he conjured a mirror of truth, pointing it at the boy. What was everyone's surprise when it turned out that this child has a 0 level. He is a mere mortal with an ordinary body. The man with blue eyes shouted that he was just a useless person who could not improve his skills, but dared to pretend to be the main student. Teacher Zhang confirmed everything that was said. Lai Kai really doesn't have the ability. He added that he would have turned a blind eye to this if the boy had been a disciple of his clan, but he could not become the main one. The red-haired boy who had been standing next to Lai Kai all this time began to calm him down. There is nothing to get upset about, no matter how low his indicators are. He can still achieve a lot. Lai Kai looked at the elders with displeasure. Is this how important people are treated here? He began to move forward, saying at the same time that the ancient rules state that all students must first practice, give up everything mundane and focus on self-improvement. Spiritual training is also mandatory. If the Tao forces are enough, then the practice will be successful. If not, then everything will be in vain. A virtuous person should become a cultivator. If the world has such people, it will stand. If not, it will collapse. Lai Kai came closer and continued his speech. All the students who do not believe these words or have broken a promise cannot continue teaching. Teacher Zhang was surprised, because the boy had just quoted ancient information. How did he know it? Lai Kai said that it was written on a stone tablet by the road and he had to remember it. He was surprised to learn that everyone here still knows that this is a teaching passed down from the ancestors. The teacher noticed that the boy remembered what he had written so easily and quickly. He must have an excellent memory and a well-developed erudition. But he would not allow him to be pressured by ancient teachings. He said that if he agreed to accept him as a disciple, he could bury the ancient clan alive. Another elder, closing his eyes, said that neglecting the ancestors really kills the family. The evil gaze of the hooded elder shifted to him. Lai Kai, smiling, wondered what this ancient clan was like. The elders differed in their opinions. The training was also abandoned. Sounds promising. A furious gaze darted towards the boy, as if piercing him through and through. Teacher Zhang, who lost his temper, thought that he would have killed this child long ago if not for the ancient teachings. Someone laughed. The man who entered said that the hall was very lively today. Everyone paid attention to him at once. Yuhi, the chief guardian of the 9 demon gates, came to visit the ancient purification clan by order of the demon emperor. There was another person standing behind him, another child. Teacher Zhang asked if the demon emperor Ruan Rai personally issued this decree, or if there was some other order. The red-haired boy greeted the man who had just come with a gesture. The same gesture of greeting was repeated by Yuhi. He said he couldn't dare, but he came to this place for the sake of His Majesty the Demon Emperor's disciple, the princess of the 9 holy demon clan. Her Highness is extremely talented. Her royal level abilities are no match for anything. If the clan's main talent is lost, then the whole world will laugh at him. To maintain the reputation of the noble clan, Emperor Lu Zai decided to invite the leader of the purification clan. If they pass the selection, then others will have nothing to say, but if they fail, the marriage contract will be broken. However, the clan of the 9 holy demons will not let you do this so easily. You will need to offer something as compensation. The elders stood with dissatisfied faces. Teacher Zhang said that a good job had been done. The man standing next to him suggested that they clearly did not want to recognize the marriage contract. Lai Kai intervened in the conversation. He said that the clan of the 9 holy demons will be able to survive thanks to the ancient purification clan. So the head is the ancient purification clan. Is this some kind of joke? The boy who came with you, he verbally attacked Lai Kai, threatening to rip out his tongue if he insulted the 9 holy demon clan again. Lai Kai revealed that he had not thought that the students would be so ignorant. He assumed that this boy had only inherited the spirit of the 9 demon clan. The indignant Yuhi decided to teach Lai Kai a lesson. Blue fragments appeared near him, which flew at breakneck speed at Lai Kai. He stood and watched, and then disappeared, disappearing into thin air. Now, satisfied, he stood beside the elders of the ancient purification clan. They decided that he knew that they would save him. The boy was only convinced that the ancient school of purification is really amazing. Yuhi was furious. This brat insulted his clan. Why was he protected? Are they going to become enemies of the holy demon clan? Teacher Zhang asked if Yuhi really wants to kill a person in the Holy Hall territory. The boy who was standing behind Yuhi's shoulder all the time was also angry and wanted to punish this little asshole, but turned to the Lord, saying that such garbage is not worth his attention. Yuhi agreed. Lai Kai was challenged to a duel by the same boy. Lai Kai wasn't scared. He decided that this man wanted to die, so he would help him. Teacher Zhang and another elder were watching the scene. One decided that all this was not good. The other was surprised at how brave this child was. Teacher Zhang did not interfere. He relayed the order to prepare for the duel and told Lai Kai that there was no way back. The latter, smiling, replied that this was exactly what he wanted. In the hall with weapons, a red-haired boy scolded Lai Kai, saying that he had gone mad, since he agreed to a duel without even having a weapon. He can still save his life if he changes the requirements. But Lai Kai is stubborn. He did not agree, because in that case, how will he become the main one? Looking at the weapons, he concluded that the ancient school of purification is really on the verge, because there are no decent weapons in it. His interlocutor protested. Everything is very valuable here. They made an exception to lend Lai Kai this weapon, and he just doesn't understand it. If he thinks so, then let him go to the duel empty-handed. But Lai Kai didn't understand why there was such a rush. He wanted to rummage around and find something else. The red-haired boy said that there was a whole bunch of weapons here, while Lai Kai himself was digging in some chest with various items. Finally, he found what he thought he needed. He stared at this object that lay right in front of his eyes, grabbed it and put it forward, saying that it was just what he needed. The red-haired boy looked questioningly at Lai Kai. It's just a stick for making fire. Did he really choose her out of everything here? It's time for a duel. The contestants stood opposite each other in the place reserved for the competition. The host announced that there are no restrictions at today's competitions. When someone falls or decides to give up, the battle will be over. He asked if anyone had any objections. There were no objections, and he said that now everything depends on him, Lao Mo, since he will be the judge at this competition. The judge went on to announce the contestants: Du Ming, the newcomer of the 9 Holy Demons clan, against the sheep-herding boy, Lai Kai. He wanted a disciple of his clan to make Lai Kai suffer, because he should know what would happen to anyone who offended the clan of the 9 Holy Demons. Teacher Zhang realized that he was only using this kid to fix a small problem. The judge announced the beginning of the duel. Du Ming reacted immediately. He rushed at the opponent with a sword, which instantly inflicted a small wound. He wounded someone else's neck. Blood flowed from the wound. Lai Kai stood motionless. One of the elders noticed that the demon child, despite his age, is very fast. The red-haired boy shouted at Lai Kai not to stand rooted to the spot. Teacher Zhang said that Du Ming uses the power of the sun. The emphasis is on speed. Meanwhile, Lai Kai is hit by another series of blows, accurate and well-aimed, which causes his clothes to suffer. The red-haired boy looks at all this with round eyes, saying that this is no longer a competition, but some kind of suicide. Teacher Zhang thought it was Lai Kai's own fault. Du Ming looked like a madman. He liked what was happening. He was assertive and said that they were not finished yet. Lai Kai retreated back, but the enemy's blows overtook him, tore his clothes. Each blow accurately pierced the target. The referee commented on the fight. Du Ming's speed and skill were at a high level. Lai Kai was out of breath. It seems he was tired. His opponent hoped that now he realized how different they were in strength. Before attacking again, Du Ming said that he was kind today, so he would kill Lai Kai immediately, without suffering. Lai Kai frowned, looking at his opponent and exhaling. A small stream of blood was flowing down his face from his forehead. With a ferocious cry, wishing for death, Du Ming rushed forward, aiming at the already wounded boy's shoulder. He pierced him with his sword. His eyes shone. A smile appeared on his face. Du Ming said he would be grateful for having such a good time. But it seems that he did not expect Lai Kai to find the strength to answer. Du Ming was surprised when the wounded opponent, looking at him angrily, said that it was very painful. Du Ming, startled, saw that the blade of his weapon was in the armpit of the opponent, although he was sure that he had hit the right place. Lai Kai said he feels pain when Du Ming hits him. Du Ming still couldn't believe it, because he couldn't miss, and this little one can't be immortal. Something's not right here. He jumped back, and Lai Kai grinned. Raven rubbed his face, asking if Du Ming was scared. Du Ming swung his sword again, calling his opponent to action. Did Lai Kai think he couldn't kill him? Du Ming attacked Lai Kai, tried to strike several blows, but each time was unsuccessful. Lai Kai dodged, as if predicting his actions. The disciple of the 9 Holy Demon clan did not understand what was going on, and Lai Kai only teased him, smirking smugly. Even he looked at this picture in amazement, because he did not expect Lai Kai to repel Du Ming's attack. The red-haired boy who was standing near the elders enthusiastically decided that Lai Kai was just hiding his powers. However, Teacher Zhang explained that this was not the case. This is just Du Ming's sun power technique from the 9 Demon clan. Although Lai Kai lacks many qualities, in the first 2 attacks he analyzed the enemy's actions, so now he was able to avoid his attack. The fact that in such a short period of time he was able to fully analyze the opponent's scheme deserves praise. However, that's it. It doesn't matter how smart Lai Kai is, because he still doesn't have a chance to fight back. Du Ming was laughing. He was annoyed. He was all on fire. He viciously shouted that Lai Kai would die in agony, because he was just a brat who didn't have any strength. The judge was standing nearby. Lai Kai was waiting for further action. Du Ming demanded that he not be arrogant, and Lai Kai, laughing, was glad that the opponent was finally ready to take it seriously. Gripping the stick tightly in his hands, he said that he would also be serious now. He began to walk forward, calling the opponent to action. One of the elders, noticing Lai Kai's stick, was surprised that there were still such weapons in their warehouse. The red-haired boy timidly confirmed this, thinking that it was just some kind of stick. It was even a shame to say such a thing. Du Ming also paid attention to a simple stick, but it was not so important to him. Even if it was not magical, a weapon is a weapon. His posture had changed. Now he was on one knee, holding a sword with one hand, and his other hand was touching the ground. He was still fiercely looking at the enemy. He thought that now everything depends on whether Lai Kai can block the blow. In the same second, Du Ming disappeared without leaving a trace. Lai Kai stood ready. The red-haired boy behaved as if he was most worried about the results of this competition. He started yelling, and the elder told him to watch carefully. Du Ming was now advancing from above. He was ready to strike. There were screams. Lai Kai didn't seem to see him. Wishing death to his opponent, Du Man flew straight at him, looking down and pointing his sword in the same direction. From above, Du Man flew straight at the opponent, pointing his sword at him. He was already ready for a deadly blow, but Lai Kai managed to react by dodging the blow. He made several swings with the stick. He looked questioningly at what the situation had turned into. Lai Kai's strike was accurate and well aimed. Someone was smiling, someone was dumbfounded. Du Ming coughed from the pain, because the blow fell right between his legs. The judge announced the end of the duel. Du Ming, falling to the ground, was defeated. Lai Kai is the winner. He rushed to the disciple of his clan, picking him up and asking him to wake up. But the student could only turn to the teacher without saying anything else. Something red appeared around Du Ming. His powers began to dissipate. He watched with horror in his eyes. He blamed Lai Kai for everything, calling him a little creature that harmed a disciple of the 9 Holy Demon clan. Lai Kai laughed at the upset man. The red-haired boy was puzzled by the fact that Lai Kai was able to cancel the opponent's technique with one blow. The elder, laughing, said that after Du Ming was beaten, there could be no question of any technique in the power of the sun. This boy made a very stupid move. Who put him up to it? Teacher Zhang was silent. All he was thinking about right now was what had happened. If Lai Kai remembered all the opponent's moves, then how did he manage to dodge his latest technique if the strategy was changed? Is Lai Kai really an ordinary kid who can't perfect his powers? How many more secrets is he hiding from them? Meanwhile, on the battlefield, the winner and the victims were sorting out the relationship. Lai Kai, pointing at the opponent with a stick, said that he was determined to kill him, but Lai Kai, still saved his life. Did he really want to lose the dignity of the cultivators of the 9 Holy Demon clan? The man was furious. He believed that this boy had no right to teach him. With a shout and threats, the man rushed at Lai Kai, who was not even afraid. He was full of excitement and was ready for anything. The attacker's hands seemed to be covered with ice. Sharp claws were ready to dig into the boy. However, none of this happened. The judge, Lao Mo, blocked Lai Kai with himself, fenced them with a large shield, from which he pushed off and jumped aside, successfully landing on the ground. Someone's hand appeared in front of him, not allowing him to do something again. He clenched his teeth, just looked at the 3 elders who now surrounded him and were ready to use force if he suddenly went stupid again. Teacher Zhang addressed Yuhi, declaring that life and death on the duel field is determined by heaven. He asked not to blame him and the clan of the ancient purification school for their lack of empathy. Yuhi couldn't do anything, because the 3 elders had gathered together. Now, he turned to Lai Kai, asking what his background was. Lai Kai, pointing at himself with his thumb, replied without a drop of embarrassment that he was the best student of the ancient school of purification. The disgruntled teacher Zhang was indignant because the boy was talking such nonsense. But Yuhi seemed to take these words at face value. He did not care about the denials of other elders. He, grinning, said that now that the clan of the ancient purification clan has become known, the trial will begin in 3 days. If the representatives of the clan are afraid and will not come, then let them not blame others for violating the contract. Yuhi told Lai Kai if he had the courage to come to the demonic gate. Lai Kai was immediately reminded of the old days when he was still a raven. He was sitting on a statue, looking at his comrades who were violently discussing the gates of the 9 holy demons. They stood facing each other, one talking that this name sounds a little wrong, and another replied that his old bad head would not be able to escape the personality of the poet. The second one was completely red, except for the yellow beak and yellow arms. He said that he created the gates of the 9 demons to make supplications to hell. Being a demon is already an honor for him. He also said that Lord Yin Crow also supports him. Raven was just silently thinking about something, looking at his friends. Akihito, a man with yellow hair and yellow clothes, told the creator of the 9 Demon Gate that he only relied on talent and physical abilities to succeed. How can he create a school without a clan? Lao Jai said he thought about it a long time ago. A pile of books appeared right in front of their feet. But what should they do with them? Lao Jai, scratching his head, said that they needed to hone their skills and it would be great if they helped him improve. From above, the Raven was looking at a bunch of textbooks. One book attracted his attention. The title read, The Power of the Sun. Then it was decided to practice the power of the sun together. Lao Jai said that after the creation of the Akihito clan, he should take care of his younger brother. Now, as in those days, Lai Kai was sitting in the same place, remembering his comrades. How would they react if they saw it all now? How would they feel? The ancient purification school and the clan of the 9 holy demons have long gone off their true path. But Lai Kai promised to protect Akihito's school. He will definitely take her to the top. Lai Kai was looking off into the distance with a smile when someone approached the statue. It was Teacher Zhang. He said that you can't climb the ancestral statue. He also added that they had already decided on a specific question about the best student, so he should come to the main hall for discussion. Lai Kai smiled, replying that it wasn't that bad. It was decided that Lai Kai was now the best student of the ancient purification school. From now on, he must pay attention to his appearance, demeanor and speech so as not to disgrace the clan. All this was announced to him by the elders in the main hall, where he stood in front of them in white clothes, which seemed very uncomfortable to him, but which he had to put on. The same stick was still with him. Teacher Zhang said that Lai Kai was still so unhurried and he didn't seem to understand what he was facing. He defeated a disciple of the 9 holy demon clan, so he will be avenged. In addition, he is in even greater danger because of the master of this clan. Lai Kai somehow thought that the master had already given up on revenge. One elder hinted that it was Lai Kai's fault that the situation had become even worse, and another said that the boy could use a weapon or something else that he would need, since the situation was not the best right now. Teacher Zhang said they would see what would happen next when he could get something. Lai Kai thought about it. He pointed to his stick, which he had chosen earlier, and said that he would use it as a weapon. The red-haired boy who was standing next to me all this time thought that this would happen. Lai Kai started talking about technique. He said that, according to rumors, there is a book Calculus of Fate in the ancient school of purification, so he needs this book. He also asked for a pair of knives. The elder was surprised, because Calculus of Fate is a book about mortal martial arts. What was he going to do with her? Lai Kai said that a weapon is a foreign object. You need to do everything yourself, so he chooses this book. From the side, the kid looked like a prig. Teacher Zhang ordered the red-haired boy to go down, take the sword and give it to Lai Kai. He obeyed. Lai Kai said he wanted to sleep, so he turned around and walked away. The red-haired boy, following him, asked him to watch his words. An elder with blue eyes asked Teacher Zhang why he didn't mind this kid's nonsense. He asked him to stop talking nonsense, because this child has said enough nonsense today, but all the misfortune for him turns into luck. The teacher looked at the departing boys. Lai Kai was asking where his room was. He wanted to lie down to rest, and the other was going to show him the best student's room. Teacher Zhang suggested that a miracle would happen if he just let Lai Kai do nothing. Meanwhile, Lai Kai had already been shown to his room. He was lying in the middle of the bed with a book in his hands. The red-haired boy said that this room is a worthy place for the best student. It's so spacious here. Lai Kai did not appreciate his new home that way. He limited himself to a simple "it will do." The red-haired boy praised and congratulated the new student, saying that he did not think that he would become the best student of their school. Lai Kai said that all this was not so important, and then, as if casually, asked the interlocutor if he had practiced Calculus of Fate. He looked questioningly at Lai Kai while asking how much he had already learned. Lai Kai stood up, chuckling. He had already learned enough, so he asked me to practice with him. This request took the boy by surprise. It seems that now he was not very ready for this. However, they still moved on to practice. Outside, under the open sky and the full moon, Lai Kai taught his partner, "You need to imagine that the hand is a knife blade. It all depends on him." Then Raven said it was a bit boring just to teach each other. His interlocutor did not understand what he was driving at, so Lai Kai continued. He proposed the following conditions. For 10 rounds, only the fate calculation technique can be used. If Lai Kai wins once, then he will command for a month. The red-haired boy decided that Lai Kai wanted to take advantage of this. He firmly agreed, also setting a condition. If Lai Kai loses, then he will have to communicate respectfully. They agreed and were ready to come together in a duel, rushing into each other. While they were fighting, the red-haired boy decided that his thoughts about Lai Kai's unprofessional level were confirmed. In the first round, Lai Kai was defeated. His opponent wondered how in general this technique could be effective against a cultivator. In the third, in the seventh round, luck still did not come to Lai Kai. He continued to lose. Round after round, the red-haired boy took the victory. His punches were accurate. He decided that Lai Kai, even if he wanted to win, had to accept reality because he had very little chance left. The ninth round was also a failure for him. The 10th and final round. This is Lai Kai's last chance. The opponent ran straight at him, shouting at him to observe etiquette and listen. Lai Kai smiled slyly, thanking for the advice. A blow followed. Raven's hand was already at the opponent's neck, although he had not yet managed to strike. The last round brought Lai Kai victory. He said that he mastered the technique of calculating fate thanks to his opponent. The same one was stunned by what had just happened. He didn't even fully understand what had just happened. And so, according to the agreement between the two, the red-haired boy must obey Lai Kai for the next month. Lai Kai extended his hand to the man who still couldn't get over the shock. Leaving, the best disciple of the ancient purification clan told Tom to rest, and he would think about what to do with him. The loser looked at the back of the departing one and thought that he had always considered himself a good master. Although he never said this, but he always believed that the decline of the power of the ancient school of purification was irreversible. But this mortal child gave him hope. Just a little more and his blood will boil. He shouted Lai Kai's name loudly, causing him to turn around. The red-haired boy at this moment reminded the raven of his old friend. He clenched his hand into a fist, enthusiastically and confidently said that Lai Kai would complete the test and revive the ancient school. He will definitely do it. Lai Kai silently looked at the boy, and then smiled, asking, "Is it that obvious?" Warning. The sun shone brightly over the gates of the 9 holy demons. A boy, Du Ming, was lying in the hall. A man was kneeling next to him. 2 more were standing next to him. One of them was Yu He, to whom another man was now addressing, asking about sending some kind of letter. Is Yu He just going to send a letter? One of the men was heartbroken. He wondered how this could happen. Yu He justified himself by saying that he did not expect such a turn. Did not know that everything would turn out this way. Du Ming destroyed this pitiful Lai Kai. Yu He even dared to assume that Lai Kai was not a person at all. The man bending over the dead boy repeated the name of the one who took his life, Lai Kai. Another man addressed the mourner by name, Guang Yuan, saying that cultivation is the basis of life for cultivators. His brother, Du Ming, was freed from torment, therefore he should not lose heart. Guang Yuan, Du Ming's brother, clenched his fists tightly, tears blurred his eyes and rolled down his cheeks. But he agreed with the master's words. The master said that the power of the Tao should grow stronger, so Gao Yuan should continue to cultivate, train. He no doubt regretted this morning and advised Du Ming's brother to rest properly. Leaving the training hall, Guang Yuan thought only about the murder of his younger brother. Rage seized him. His eyes were burning. His teeth were clenched with anger. He wasn't going to leave everything just like that. He wanted to kill Lai Kai. Elders, a red-haired boy and the best student of the ancient purification clan have already gathered on the school grounds. 3 were standing on a platform in the form of a hexagon. 2 more were walking in their direction. Teacher Zhang asked Lai Kai to be careful because this is an important trip. He asked not to worry about him, but the teacher assumed that Lai Kai would surely start. Teacher Mo and Nan Huan will accompany Lai Kai on this trip, so they were told to take good care of him. Having finished his instructions, Teacher Zhang shouted, "Go ahead," put his hand forward, and the portal began to come into action. 3 were standing inside. Nan Huan warned Lai Kai that the clan of the 9 holy demons is very powerful, and the welcoming ceremony is not child's play at all. He needs to hold on and not allow himself to be teased. Lai Kai agreed. He was going to see how big the team would be. They were on the spot. In the clan of the 9 holy demons, a light was still burning around them. Some kind of symbol with a blue stone hovered behind them. What was their surprise when they found out that there was no one here? Lai Kai laughed, because he had been told about the greeting ceremony differently. But then a figure appeared on the horizon. A man from the clan of 9 holy demons greeted the arrival of the ancient purification school. He apologized for being late, hoping that he could atone for his guilt. It was the guardian of the clan, Su Hu. Teacher Mo was upset by this reception. He counted out the guard for being careless about his work and disrespectful to the ancient school of purification. Su Hu replied that the Grand Elder was busy right now. The others also had things to do, so there was no other choice. But Lao Mo thought it was all a lie. Lai Kai calmed down the teacher, saying that it was not worth taking it to heart. He promised to return everything 100-fold. Only a little later, Zhu Hu, noticing Lai Kai, realized that this was the very best student of the ancient school of purification. The disciple confirmed this by answering not very politely, so Nan Huan reminded him to speak more carefully. The guardian noticed that the best student of the school at such a young age surpassed some of the students of their clan. All of them had to visit the headmaster to witness the arrival of the ancient purification school. And now Zhu Hu decided to take the guests to the rooms where they can have a good rest. However, Lai Kai had other plans. He asked not to worry and said that it was worth going and looking around, since this clan is so prosperous. After these words, the boy rushed to run. Nan Huan followed him with a shout. Teacher Mo did the same. Zhu Hu, looking at all this, decided that the young man wanted to die. In the territory of the clan, Lai Kai and Nan Huan looked at the huge statues with sparkling eyes, noting that they were very cool. Now they were on the battlefield of the clan of the 9 holy demons. Around this field, and there were these huge statues of warriors with various weapons. There were 4 statues in total. Lai Kai, without taking his eyes off them, proclaimed that this field for duels really takes your breath away. Teacher Mo agreed with what was said. No matter how many times he came here, every time this sight surprises. Nan Huan muttered that their school must have had a similar field for duels before. Suddenly, Lai Kai appeared from behind the red-haired boy, saying his name. Nan Huan, covered with perspiration, muttered that he had a strange premonition. Pointing to one of the stone statues, the best student said that he wanted to climb it. Nan Huan's jaw almost dropped from what Lai Kai had just said. He hoped it was a joke, because this thing is a sacred relic of the clan. It is not worth climbing, unless, of course, there is no desire to die. Lai Kai asked him not to worry, and Teacher Mo only watched these children. Lai Kai reminded Nan Huan that this month he had to obey all his orders, and Huan himself did not understand how he could live for a whole month with such conditions. The red-haired boy fell to the ground and begged, asking to let him live his last days in peace. Lai Kai watched this picture with displeasure, but all his friends' efforts were pointless. Lao Mo told the top student to just let Nan Huan go. The teacher put his hand on Lai Kai's shoulder, and he looked at the old man questioningly. He said that it was not worth even trying to stop him, because today he had to climb this statue. However, Lao Mo was not going to contradict the boy, did not even think to stop him. He grabbed the boy, informing him that his duty was to ensure that Lai Kai met the parameters of the best student. With these words, he forcefully threw the contented boy up. He instantly jumped onto the statue, as planned. He stepped to the surface, smiling with all his teeth. From the statue, he thanked Teacher Mo, claiming that he thinks much more broadly than Nan Huan. The red-haired boy was now scolding his teacher, who must have gone crazy to allow such a thing. But Lao Mo had a reason for that. The clan of the 9 holy demons did not treat them as guests, so why should they behave politely? There was a scream. A man saw a man who had climbed up on the statue, and now he was informing the guards about it so that she would grab the intruder. Teacher Mo did not expect that the reaction would follow so quickly, and Nan Huan thought that now they were definitely finished. Lai Kai was standing at the top, and screams and curses could be heard from below. He was called a bastard from the ancient purification school, threatened and demanded that he come down. However, it was all fun for Raven. He said that a dog that can't bite a person likes to make noise. But one scream caught his attention more than the others. Someone shouted his name furiously. This man was holding a sword in his hands and was ready to attack, clearly intending to take his life. Lai Kai thought that the dog could fly. The opponent's sword almost overtook Lai Kai. However, a red flash appeared between these people, and a second later Lao Mo himself with a shield. He wasn't going to just look at it. The impact of the sword on Teacher Mo's shield caused an explosion, which caused all 3 of them to fly away from the center to the sides. Now they were slightly further apart from each other. Guan Yuan, landing on his feet, said that Teacher Mo was only getting in the way. Lai Kai sat comfortably in Lao Mo's arms, who was only amused by this situation. He laughed and exclaimed that it was fun and even exciting. Now they were standing on the ground. Nan Huan stood between them, silent and puzzled. Lao Mo had already put his disciple on the ground. He was standing on his own 2 feet. Opposite, with a sword in his hands, was Guan Yuan. The red-haired boy, for whom all this seemed too complicated, was ready to cry. A whole crowd has already gathered on the field for duels. Guan Yuan, addressing Lai Kai, said that first he killed his brother, and now he also desecrated the relic. Today, he's going to kill this kid and protect the 9 holy demon clan. Lai Kai, looking at this man indifferently, didn't even know who he was. The man introduced himself, Du Yuan Guang, whose younger brother was killed by Lai Kai. There were whispers in the crowd. Someone said that they heard that Du Ming's brother died in the ancient purification school, and this guy, A student of this school is the one who killed him. No one will forget this because it's humiliating. Guang Yuan was very hostile. Lai Kai seemed to have only just realized what he was talking about, and the people in the crowd of onlookers were not envious of his position. If Yuan Guang was angry, then one life for this guy would not be enough. People in the crowd wanted to see the carnage. Someone asked to open the guy's belly. Someone shouted that he must have changed tactics. Guang Yuan thought that Lai Kai was afraid. Even though he had a guardian, Du Ming's brother wanted to kill this boy, and no one could stop him. He made a seemingly generous offer. He decided to think about how to quickly deal with this child if he knelt down and loudly apologized 3 times. But then the master intervened. He ordered not to be rude to the guests. Yuhi arrived with him. Both were standing behind Guang Yuan. The master announced that Lai Kai is the best student of the purification school who provoked the fight. Guang Yuan was upset that his revenge had not been realized. The master added that the best student from the arrived school does not have a base for cultivation, because it looks more like hooliganism, not a duel. Lai Kai and his mentors have already realized that the master noticed the absence of the base. People from the crowd started pointing their fingers. The best disciple of the ancient purification school is a dummy without a base for cultivation. Can such a person hold this post? The ancient school of purification must be disbanded immediately. How someone who overestimates his strength can claim to marry a princess? Lai Kai did not deny anything, but only confirmed what the master said. The best student turned to Du Yuan Guang and said that he accepted his challenge. Right here, in this arena, he is ready to fight for life and death. Guang Yuan stated that he didn't care if Lai Kai had a cultivation base or not. He had killed Du Ming, so he had to prepare for death. But Lai Kai was tired of listening to the same thing. How many times has he repeated it? Is there really so much trash in the clan of the 9 holy demons that can only talk? The crowd exploded with heated discussions again. This bastard is so arrogant. He needs to be killed, for the sake of Brother Du. Someone shouted that it was too easy to kill him now. You need to take out all the anger on him. Chop off his arms and legs so that he would suffer. The master of the 9 holy demon clan thought that this useless person should be disposed of. It's amazing that he even lived to this point. Lao Mo felt that this was all very wrong. He has no right to interfere in the ring during the fight. Nan Huan told the teacher that he was very afraid that Lai Kai might be disqualified for arrogance. However, if the blades were already drawn, the best student of their school would never lose. Guang Yuan rushed at Lai Kai, gritting his teeth in anger and thrusting his weapon forward. He noticed that Lai Kai's posture wasn't that unprofessional. It looked like he had undergone some martial arts training after all. But the flaw on his left shoulder was clearly visible. Guang Yuan decided that this was the flaw he would aim at. The crowd was cheerful. People rejoiced, believing that Guang Yuan was worthy of being a great master. His swordsmanship was elegant. Everyone was waiting for him to kill his opponent. Teacher Mo couldn't believe that Lai Kai could die here. It just couldn't be. Nan Huan, who was excitedly watching the fight, believed that the teacher should not worry about it. He confidently looked at Lai Kai with the belief that he would cope and win. That evening, when Lai Kai and Nan Huan practiced the calculus of fate technique, Lai Kai said that he could win using only this technique. Nan Huan did not understand what the secret was, and Lai Kai explained to him what a student of the ancient school of purification should know. According to legend, Emperor Akihito founded the ancient school of purification, improved many techniques, and the calculus of fate is a secret technique of the school, which was perfected by Emperor Akihito himself. Nan Huan was surprised by what was said. This technique of wielding a sword in the arena in the hands of Akihito has become an unpredictable martial art. It's a pity that everyone forgot about this secret. The ancient school and the technique of calculus of fate are mysterious and mysterious. Masterfully using his knives, Lai Kai struck several blows to the opponent. His blades went straight through Guan Yuan's face and body. Lai Kai left the defeated opponent behind, and the master of the school of 9 holy demons, Yuhi and other onlookers were amazed. Guang Yuan's body was now lying behind the smiling Lai Kai, who had thrown one of his swords to the ground. He asked who would be next and asked to come over. Teacher Mo was excited, and Nan Huan thought that it was not worth being so ruthless. The master of the school of 9 holy demons lost his temper and started shouting Lai Kai. He could not restrain himself and, using magic, decided to attack the boy. But Lao Mo again came to his defense, reacting quickly. He reminded Zhu Hu and Yuhi of the basic rule that they should remember, regardless of who died or survived on the battlefield. With his body, he shielded the boy from these men. Yuhi said that he certainly knows the rules on the battlefield of the 9 holy demon clan, But Lai Kai is too bloodthirsty and ferocious. Isn't Teacher Mo afraid that this disciple will cause a lot of trouble to the ancient purification school? There were many people in the crowd who wanted to fight Lai Kai. They shouted about it without fear. The sky erupted with thunder and lightning, darkened sharply, and a discontented expression began to appear on it. It was the Grand Elder, before whom everyone immediately knelt down. Zhu Hu, Yuhi and the others began to greet him. The Grand Elder said that Guang Yuan died on the battlefield because of his negligence, so no one should have any more questions. He told Lai Kai that he was not welcome in this clan at all, so he had to heal his wounds as soon as possible to take part in the trial and then leave the gate of the 9 holy demons. Lai Kai said with a frown that he did not need to say such a thing, because they had arranged this test, and he himself wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. Yuhi, with sparkling eyes and an unkind smile, asked not to blame their clan for their ruthlessness, because Lai Kai himself does not give himself the opportunity to rest. The first test is the Forest of Chaos. The Forest of Chaos was founded by the ancestors of the 9 sages and was used to hone the skills of students. There are 14 stone slabs in the forest. At each stage the difficulty level will increase. Entering the Forest of Chaos is like entering the lair of demons. There are a lot of demons and other creatures, although this is an illusion, but everything will seem quite real. There, Lai Kai may lose his mind, and serious consequences may even affect his body, where he will be severely beaten. If Lai Kai can't handle this test, then he'd better run away from there, otherwise the demon might possess him. After telling all this, Yui added that, in any case, the ancient purification school is also a well-known and worthy school with a long history. Representatives of the school of 9 holy demons would like to see how the main disciple of the clan of this school would be disgraced during this test. Lai Kai understood everything perfectly and wanted to get started as soon as possible, but before that he thought it necessary to consult with someone from the clan of the 9 holy demons. Zhu Hu, looking at Lai Kai, asked if he really thought he was worthy of it. This boy really isn't afraid of death. The Guardian said that many people say that their clan mocks the weak, so he decided to compete with Lai Kai. Lai Kai was glad that everything turned out this way. Zhu Hu finally remembered that there was no empty place in front of him. The student also added that the little guardian would not deny defeat if he lost. Zhu Hu was ready to make Lai Kai pay for his arrogance. The guardian stepped into the Forest of Chaos. There was a rumor that many years ago he reached the 5 steps. Now he looks more experienced than before. Others do not know this, that he is only 30 years old, and he has already achieved such results. Someone thought that at this rate Zhu Hu would reach the 8th stage. Now he had already passed 5 steps and was approaching the 6th. He stepped onto the 6th. The Forest of Chaos terrified him. Is 6 steps really his limit? Zhu Hu didn't want to give up so easily. He had already almost reached the 7th step. Annoying ghosts loomed around. Their hands even pulled out of the ground. There were a lot of skeletons here, but nothing should have stopped him. And breaking through this darkness, the Guardian still reached the 7th level. The 7th step. He was able to do it, as expected from the elder brother. Zhu Hu looked exhausted. However, Lai Kai was not impressed with this result. Zhu Hu, this idiot, did not understand that the Forest of Chaos was testing his Tao energy and passed with the help of force. Now he will face a lot of negative energy. And so it happened. A large transparent hand, advancing on the Guardian, forcibly pushed him out of the forest. Everyone around inquired about his condition and well-being. Lying on the ground, the Guardian said that he underestimated the strength of this forest. He could not even step on the 8th step. Everyone around said that he did a great job. Yuhi, sitting next to him, confirmed that he did a very good job, and if he practices further, he will definitely become an elder. Zhu Hu thanked Yuhi for his encouraging words. He was glad to hear such a thing. And now it's Lai Kai's turn. Laughter rang out. Lai Kai approached the guard lying on the ground and said that it was not bad. At his age, he was only able to reach the 7th stage. If he is as assertive, then before he dies, he will surely be able to end this streak of bad luck. The taunts on his part did not appeal to Sui Hu, and Yuhi said that Zhu Hu had already finished, and waiting for Lai Kai's turn was already tiring. Lai Kai burst out laughing again, mocking. He said that he thought that Yuhi was waiting for a dead man on the ground. Manhwa, standing on the sidelines, was trying to tell his friend that he should be polite. Yuhi said that only here can Lai Kai speak so caustically, but does he have the courage to take part in the test? Lai Kai nonchalantly replied that the guard was lucky to go first, because he would drown in despair at the sight of Lai Kai reaching the 14th stage. Lying on the ground, Zhu Hu even managed to get up out of anger, showering his opponent with curses, but Yuhi tried to calm him down. Zhu Hu was yelling furiously that Lai Kai, a savage who only knows martial arts, dared to say such a thing to him. He doesn't know anything, so he doesn't dare to talk to the guardian in that tone. Zhu Hu even offered to make a bet. If the best disciple of the ancient purification school could not reach the 14th step, then he would kneel in front of him. Zhu Hu. Lai Kai accepted the challenge with a smile, saying that the guardian himself would kneel if he lost in this dispute. Zhu Hu agreed without hesitation. He was sure that today he would be able to see the main disciple of the ancient purification school kneel in front of him. Lai Kai entered the forest of chaos and, stepping on the first step, asked only to wait a little. It seemed that his mind was beginning to fog up. Near the entrance to the forest of chaos, observers were crowding, waiting for the result. As it turned out, half an hour later, Lai Kai was still standing on the first step. People looked at his back. Many decided that the main student could not take a step, and someone shouted that he should not waste time, since he could not cope with the test. Van Huaren sternly looked at these people. What are the disciples of the 9 Holy Demon clan doing here? They should be quieter, because it's too noisy here. The boy himself spoke in a whisper and thought only about whether Lai Kai had any way to deal with this. Lai Kai stood on the first step with his eyes closed. Spirits were flying around him, which didn't look the best. Suddenly he opened his eyes and, looking up at these ghosts, began to move forward. The disciples of the 9 Holy Demon clan already thought that he was frozen at the first step forever. But no, to everyone's surprise, he walked forward with his hands behind his back. Someone thought that this boy was just afraid of losing, so he was trying his best to fight to the end. He thought that Lai Kai seemed very relaxed now. It seemed to him that the boy was hiding something, and he was walking with ease, humming some melody. So he reached the 3rd stage. On the 3rd stage he was engulfed by fire. On the 4th he was chained. He also passed the 5th stage. On the 6th bright blue rays pierced him, and on the 7th a huge ghost appeared in front of him. But Lai Kai told him to get lost. Van Huaren didn't understand how this could be. A student of their school was already at the 7th stage. Teacher Mo stood with his usual eternally satisfied expression on his face. The red-haired boy shouted after Lai Kai that he would definitely be able to do it. Turning around, the main disciple with a satisfied smile asked him not to make a fuss about trifles. The members of the clan of the 9 Holy Demons could not believe their eyes, because the boy passed all the tests with such ease. Someone even assumed that he had arranged everything. The clan's disciples accused him of cheating. He couldn't stand it anymore. He loudly ordered the students to shut up. He knew that the Forest of Chaos is a test of the Tao. There is no way in the world that one could cheat here, so the possibility of cheating is definitely excluded in this case. Perhaps Lai Kai has a strong Tao energy. He was already sweating, thinking that after the 7th stage, the illusions will become stronger. Even if there is even the slightest doubt, it will come to naught. Lai Kai will not be able to reach the 14th stage. Now Lai Kai was expecting something new. He covered his eyes with his palm to shut out the bright light. The illusion he had fallen into was different from what it had been before. Here in front of him he saw a huge golden statue. All around it was strewn with treasures. Power, violence, beauty and wealth are the temptations he had to face here. Looking at this, he said that everything here is very tempting. A smile shone on the statue's face. The man made a swing and a blow with his golden sword, and then looked with incomprehension at where this blow was struck. Lai Kai stood unharmed. He laughed, saying that it was very funny. The statue began to dissipate. Now Lai Kai was looking without much interest. Looking around, he said that there were enough games. He was too bored. Before entering the Forest of Chaos, something unimaginable was happening to the watching people, because they did not believe until the last moment that Lai Kai would be able to reach the 14th stage. However, contrary to their expectations, he still managed to do what seemed impossible. Van Huaren, meeting Lai Kai who had returned, began to talk violently about his impressions. At first, the main disciple could not move, so it seemed to them that everything was already over. Lai Kai, laughing, said that he was just teasing them. Now he decided to give Zhu Hu some time to mentally prepare. He hadn't forgotten about their argument, had he? Zhu Hu was furious. He was not even able to answer this child. Lai Kai, smiling broadly, quipped, how could he possibly argue with such a person? Zhu Hu doesn't have to worry. He silently looked at Zhu Hu, who was swearing and was beside himself with anger. By the way, he never got on his knees. He said that the first test was successfully passed. To become a full member of the ancient school of purification, you need to pass other tests. The main disciple asked to hurry up and prepare everything for the next test. He said that in the second trial, they would test the power of Lai Kai. The boy asked again. Power? He had already beaten 2 clan disciples. Did he really need to defeat a few more to calm them down? Zhu Gufa shouted that he would now be his opponent, which caused Lai Kai genuine surprise bordering on a grin. The Guardian said that Lai Kai had defeated some of their students with his mean tricks, but don't let him get carried away too much. Now he himself is calling him to fight. The main disciple thought that this man still could not give up and calm down. Zhu Hu got down on one knee, asking for another chance. Yui asked if Zhu knew what their clan would have to face if he lost one more time. But the stubborn Zhu Hu promised that this time he would definitely be able to defeat his opponent. Yui thought about it and eventually gave permission for this duel. The second test, Zhu Hu versus Lai Kai. The boy has already started teasing the opponent, asking if he is used to losing. The second trial has begun. Zhu, pointing at his opponent with his sword, demanded that he take out his weapon. But Lai Kai was not going to use a weapon. He took a stick from his belt and said that against such an opponent, it would be enough for him. This taunt angered the guard even more. Rushing at the boy, he repeated what the main student had heard many times before, die. Yui remembered this stick. It was with her help that the boy killed Du Ming. He had already decided that this was an unusual stick, so he wanted to study it with his power. But it turned out that there was nothing special about this stick, there was no power in it. It was just an ordinary broken stick. How can this even be? Zhu Hu demanded not to fool him. He was going to let Lai Kai know who was in charge here. Lai Kai didn't mind. On the contrary, he was waiting for action from the one he was fighting. Instantly, Zhu moved behind Lai Kai and, swinging his sword, wanted to strike. But the boy felt the enemy behind his back and repelled this blow with his usual stick. Without even turning to face the opponent, whose jaw dropped from shock, and his eyes almost fell out of their sockets. What was that just now? How is this even possible? Lai Kai, turning to his opponent, said that the difference he had been talking about all the time was really too big. Zhu Hu called him a brat, and he himself thought that the boy had hit his vulnerable spot. The hand in which he held the sword was shaking with fatigue. Mentally, he asked himself to calm down, because he has a fairly high level of cultivation, so he definitely cannot lose in this duel. Using his strength, Zhu Hu flew into the air. He struck another blow, but Lai Kai defended himself with a stick again. The third and fourth blows were similarly repelled by the uncomplicated weapon of the main disciple. It was Lai Kai's turn. Now he attacked himself, knocking the sword out of the opponent's hands. Everyone gaped at this contest. Exhaling tiredly, Zhu Hu said that this simply could not be. He was tired and now he was trying to catch his breath. Yui called the Guardian a non-entity who was going to disgrace the name of their clan. But Zhu Hu hastened to reassure the master, claiming that he had not yet shown his true strength. Yui asked why he was kneeling instead of fighting then. Manhwa was talking to the teacher at the time. He didn't understand why Zhu attacked Lai Kai first, but he retreated afterwards. But teacher Mo himself could not answer the boy's questions. He could only speculate. Maybe Lai Kai is just a genius. Manhwa was indignant, because Lao Mo himself said that nothing good can be expected from a bad person. Zhu Hu thought it impossible that his opponent blocked all of his attacks. Lai Kai said with arrogance that if Zhu didn't understand this, he'd better give up right away. A long time ago, a terrible snake lurked in the dark forests. A cultivator of any level, having met her, could not escape death. However, there are rumors that there is a tree in this dark forest that eats snakes. Maybe it's because the strength of this tree is much higher. No, it's all about the branches of this strange tree. They can easily anticipate an attack and block it. After a while, a raven fought with this tree, which was able to tear off a branch. He began to use the branch to identify the weaknesses of the enemy. The branch was also used for teaching students, and they called her the snake stick. For a long time, Akihito's son could not resist the snake stick, but, of course, he was well trained. Lai Kai asked if Zhu Hu wanted to try. He'd better give up now if he doesn't want to die. But Zhu Gafa intended to continue the fight. He told this insignificant little man to look carefully. The Guardian's body began to transform. He turned into a reptile, thereby revealing his true strength. Zhu Hu, who had assumed his true form, decided that he had had enough. Lai Kai had mocked him enough, and now he would pay 100 times for all his actions. The main disciple of the ancient purification school froze, staring at the new skin of his rival. Zhu Hu is a half-snake, a demonic monster. Manhwa has already decided that this is the end, because Lai Kai is now facing a real demonic serpent. Brother is unable to move. Lao Mo said that the monster can turn itself into a demonic form, in which it acquires incredible strength, so Lai Kai should try to hold out. The demonic half-snake said that his father was a golden-striped demonic snake, so in this form he can multiply his power. According to the snake, now Lai Kai will definitely come to an end. However, the opponent's reaction did not satisfy Zhu Hu's expectations. Of all that exists in this world, he turned out to be a demonic serpent. He may think that he is already dead. Lai Kai's body was trembling. The snake was laughing and flying at him, asking how dare the boy utter such loud speeches when he himself was shaking with fear. Lai Kai's support group watched excitedly, shouting for him to be careful. The disciples of the clan of the 9 holy demons, on the contrary, wanted the snake to kill him, bite him to death. Lai Kai trembled, calling Zhu an idiot. In an instant, the stick pierced the head of a huge demonic half-snake. The head disciple said that he was not the one who was shaking with fear. Just one snake was too happy to see his prey, for which he is now being punished with a stick. Lai Kai really couldn't control it. Now the snake that was pierced with a stick was trembling. He could only sigh. Lai Kai even felt sorry for his opponent, but he had said that death was waiting for him. Lai Kai pulled out a stick. Zhu Hu, defeated, collapsed to the ground. The boy reminded that it was time to announce the winner. He was silent. Nan Huan rejoiced at the victory. Lao Mo was also pleased with the student of their school. He recalled the words of the great elder. He said that he should know what consequences would arise if something went against the court. If he ever dares to turn the 9 holy demon clan into a laughing stock, then he will spend the rest of his life in pain and hellish suffering. Right now, Yuhi's head was filled with these words, who was not happy with the outcome of the duel. He mentally scolded Zhu Hu for daring to lose to such a brat who had only recently learned several martial techniques. Lai Kai was carelessly cleaning his stick, which was now dirty. The clan master was glaring at him angrily. This is unacceptable. A crystal began to appear in his hand. My thoughts were full of the fact that the gate of the 9 holy demons would really turn into a laughing stock if this man married the princess of the clan. He is a disgrace to their clan. Yuhi does not intend to tolerate it. The sharp shard was already fully formed. Yuhi intended to kill the boy right now, who was now asking for help to clean the stick. Instead of him, he was going to send the master to the next world with another disciple. Huan responded to Lai Kai's request, saying that he was good at cleaning. Lao Mo confirmed this, because Nan Huan takes care of the clothes of the entire clan. After killing these 3, Yuhi was going to cover himself with the gate of the 9 holy demons to explain what had happened. So at least he will have a chance of survival. He had made his decision and was not going to step back. The sharp crystal flew straight in the direction of Lai Kai, who was standing with his back and could not see the approaching threat. Yuhi's actions were dictated by the desire to save his life, so he decided to just kill all 3 who came from the ancient purification school, and then come up with something as an excuse for their death. The sharp crystal flew straight in the direction of Lai Kai, who was standing with his back and could not see the approaching threat. Yuhi attacked from the back, but something, breaking all Master Yu's plans, stood between the threat and the boy. Yuhi looked ahead, not understanding where this boulder came from. Lai Kai, his eyes flashing, turned around, noticing that Yuhi was trying to sneak up on him again for the second time. Yuhi shouted angrily. He immediately wanted to know who did it. His gaze turned to the huge statue on the battlefield. Were they the guardians of heaven? Lai Kai babbled that even the ancestors of their clan had run out of patience. Teacher Mo, watching what was happening, wondered, has the stone statue always stood here? And Huan decided that the statue could move by itself. Everyone present was stunned that the statue was alive. She began to move, taking steps forward. The disciples of the 9 holy demon clan fell to their knees in front of her, saying that the statue was awakening, blessing the ancestors. Glory to the progenitors was heard from people from the crowd every now and then. Yuhi prayed to the guardians of heaven, repeating their names. He didn't want to admit that they were protecting that jerk Lai Kai. It was simply impossible. The statue got down on one knee, one hand leaning against the ground. Lai Kai stood beside a statue that seemed to worship him, and looked at Master Yu of the 9 holy demon clan, wishing him dead. The statue raised its hand, looking at its target. Yuhi was continuously laughing. Now he looked like a madman. So much did not fit in his head what was happening now. The stone hand came closer and closer, and then covered him, flattening him. That was the last thing he saw, the stone hand of the guardian of heaven. The crowd decided that the statue was out of control. Everyone scattered and ran, scared of what was happening and what could happen to them. Lai Kai approached Teacher Mo and Nan Huan, drawing their attention to how scared all these kids were. Huan, calling Lai Kai big brother, asked if he had brought this guard. Lao Mo was also interested in answering the question of what had happened here. Earlier, after his arrival here, Lai Kai climbed the statue of the guardian of heaven. There he went to his ear, and began to call out to the master, whose eyes lit up for a moment, and then went out again. The statue was awake and waiting for the right moment. Such a moment came when Lai Kai was in danger. Lai Kai said that all their guesses were correct, and added that as long as a person is familiar with the master, he can easily control him. That is, a stone statue. These words shocked Nan Huern. Lai Kai said that everything would be fine if the clan of the 9 holy demons retained the position of a large clan. The gates of the 9 holy demons have become completely unmanageable, so they should be disposed of. The huge statue was smashing everything in its path, but Lai Kai seemed to be pleased with what was happening. He was all beaming when he talked about it. The sky erupted with thunder and lightning again, like the last time when the Grand Elder of the 9 holy demon clan appeared. The statue raised its hand to the sky, and a man was flying at it from above. He was followed by chains that began to wrap around the statue as he landed on her fist facing upwards. These chains were supposed to stop the guardian of heaven. The statue, all in chains, bent down. Lai Kai watched it with great pleasure. The expert has arrived. The great elder from heaven turned to young Master Lai. He asked him to stop the stone giant and then discuss everything. Lai Kai, looking up at the sky, greeted the demon king, telling him to reveal his true identity to them. The Grand Elder acknowledged the guilt of the gate of the 9 holy demons and offered to let the statue settle everything, and then drink tea in the temple. Lai Kai agreed, arrogantly saying that he was ready to spare him. Nan Huern still couldn't stop being surprised by the impudence of this ill-mannered boy. He said with such arrogance that he would spare the demon king. Finally, everything settled down. In the temple of the clan of 9 holy demons, Lai Kai sat opposite the demon king. A cup of drink stood at his feet, and the king himself explained to him. All the elders of the clan went about their business and left him alone. That's why all this commotion happened. He hoped that the young master would forgive them. However, all these kind words did not work on Lai Kai, because he understood why the great elder had recently chased him away. And now he is being nice to him after learning that he speaks a secret language and can control stone statues. The demon king laughed out loud. He liked the fact that the young master grasps everything on the fly. Of course, he did not deny the fact that he was interested in this long-lost language, which is known to Lai Kai. Lai Kai said that they must be friends now. The Grand Elder asked if Master Lai really spoke the language of the 4 statues. Lai Kai, grinning, confirmed that this was indeed the case. He knows this language. The Demon King was pleased with his answer and said that if Lai Kai agreed to teach him this language, the Elder would make him his successor and open the way for him to become the best disciples of their clan. Smiling, he asked if young Master Lai agreed to such conditions. Lai Kai, holding the cup in his hands and drinking a little of its contents, said that he was already the main disciple of the ancient Purification clan, and, of course, he would not go against his clan, so he hoped that the head of the clan of the 9 holy demons would stop joking like that. By the way, he really liked the tea. It was not bad. The old man sighed and said that he probably looks stupid, because Lai Kai has a marriage contract with the Shuangs, so he has no reason to worry about the position of the main disciple. The Demon King looked at the door, behind which the silhouette of a man was visible. He asked Shuang to come in and greet young Master Lai. He told Lai Kai that they should get to know each other first. The girl was standing outside all this time, leaning against the temple wall with her hands. She was silent, and her gaze seemed a little gloomy. 2 girls were standing in a gazebo near the lake. One asked the other to look at the peach blossom. Because the peach really bloomed beautifully, the view was beautiful, just incredible. The girl who looked at all this beauty said that after many years such a view would still get bored someday, despite how beautiful he was. But another girl decided to make the atmosphere more cheerful and, laughing, said that Miss Shuang's beauty would never bore people. Shuang did not find an answer to these words, thinking that the girl was laughing for no reason. The girl continued to calm Shuang. She said that there was no reason to worry, because after marriage, Miss will always be able to travel with her betrothed. Shuang laughed, prompting a question from another girl. Is there anything funny in her words? Shuang turned to Xiao Zhu, asking if she really thought there would be someone in this world who would be worthy of her. Xiao Zhu quickly realized what was the matter, immediately picking up. She began to say that there really was no man who was worthy of her. And now Shan stood and looked at her potential husband, whose appearance was not particularly pleasing. It all seemed like a cruel joke to her. The elder asked her to come in and greet Master Lai, who is worth getting to know first. The girl was outraged that her fiancé was such a small child. She didn't come in, because the Demon King kept insisting. He asked her not to be shy and enter. The girl tried to calm down, thinking that it was time for her to stop being indignant, because the master brought her up and appreciated her. He had taken care of her since childhood. She has nothing else to repay. Shuang entered the temple, thinking that for her, as the princess of the gate of the 9 holy demons, the desire of her master is her main goal. She silently entered and stood in the middle of the room, closing her eyes. Lai Kai, without uttering a word, silently looked at the girl. From an arrogant and indignant girl, Shuang turned into a sweet and submissive princess. She greeted young Master Lai sweetly, and he, after looking at her and listening to the greeting, said only, "Oh, not bad." This caused a new wave of indignation in Shuang. She wanted to teach this stupid little brat a lesson. In her thoughts, she was already cracking down on them, but outwardly she did not give away her violent reaction. She just said that now they need to complete the engagement. The Demon King started to say something. Lai Kai also started talking about the engagement. Lounging carelessly, he said they needed to forget about this engagement. Shuang and the elder were amazed at his words, uttered with such ease. The Demon King didn't understand what this child was talking about. He wasn't looking for power or wealth, didn't appreciate beauty, and he doesn't look like a seeker. Then what is its purpose? All this did not fit into the head of the Demon King. The man laughed, saying that Lai Kai should be calmer. He began to praise Shuang. She is very talented. She also has a huge and kind heart. Great achievements await them in the future. The girl the Demon King was talking about was now standing silently and blushing. She agreed with the words of the gentleman and, feeling awkward at the same time, said that husband and wife are like an open book. From the outside you can always see who is stronger and who is weaker. But the words spoken out loud strongly contradicted her thoughts. It was disgusting. Who would marry this boy at all? Lai Kai asked them to stop, saying that they did not understand him at all. He explained that he refuses to marry, adding that the girl is just not his type. Surprised on the outside, inside she was beside herself with anger and indignation. Shuang seemed to be startled by what this kid had just said. She stood surprised. How? Is she not his type? The Demon King laughed and said that he understood everything apparently. Lai Kai is unhappy. But in fact the elders made this decision at their discretion, in which case the clan of the 9 holy demons apologizes, but to terminate the marriage. In the head of the Demon King, the thought appeared that this might be the idea of an ancient cleansing clan. Lai Kai immediately began to deny the involvement of the ancient purification clan. He said that this was his conscious decision, which the clan did not influence in any way, so the Demon King can leave his worries. Lai Kai, lowering his hand to the floor, began to get up, saying that this was all he wanted, and if there were no more questions for him, he would leave. Each of those present felt quite different from what he was saying. Shuang mentally scolded Lai Kai, calling him a bastard, but at the same time with a kind, caring and sweet face wished him to take care of himself. The Demon King did not understand what this guy needed at all, and said that they would see each other a little later. And Lai Kai himself chuckled with the whole situation, saying goodbye to these people. As if casually recalling the ancient language, Lai Kai asked if the elder still needed the statue control technique. The king said he would have completely forgotten about it without a reminder. He said that he undoubtedly still needed this technique. Lai Kai, already leaving, said that in that case, the princess should join his ancient purification clan. Although the engagement is no longer valid, he still needs a maid. With these words, he left the room. Shuang, all enraged, struggled to control herself. On the street, Lao Mo and Nan Huern questioned Lai Kai about the reasons for his action. Nan Huern asked if there was even a limit to how capricious he could be. Was he joking when he said that he intended to revive the ancient purification clan? But Lai Kai expressed doubts to his companions that by becoming the husband of this girl, he would be able to revive the clan. He announced that in a few days, the princess of the 9 holy demon clan would be transferred to their ancient purification clan. Isn't that much more important than an engagement? Lao Mo and Nan Huern were in shock. Now they were thinking about what they had said, saying that this was a completely different matter, and Lai Kai, pleased, holding his hands behind his head, said that the fact that they believed his words without the slightest doubt was quite boring. Nan Huern was thinking how to explain all this to the elders now. Lai Kai winked at him and asked him not to worry about it. The elders will definitely understand. The 3 returned to their clan. They came to the main hall, and it seems that they were greeted without much joy. One of the elders was literally shaking with anger. He screamed loudly, pointing at Lai Kai with his finger and claiming that he was a spy of the 9 holy demon clan. Nan Huern stared at Big Brother with his eyes bulging and his mouth wide open. Again, he didn't understand anything at all. By the way, the main disciple was already wearing the same white clothes that Nan Huern masterfully brought into proper shape using his magical abilities. This speed really struck Lai Kai. Lao Mo was not lying when he spoke about this boy's abilities.